we are in the studio again, the Winning Together podcast. So happy to have the clinician, Jared Casey, in the studio today. It has been a little bit. How are you, buddy?
I'm well, Shay. I'm well. Thank you for bringing me back. It's been too long.
And this is the coach, Shay Aslett. And, you know, we've got a really good combination. When we get together, rad stuff happens.
Rad stuff happens for sure.
We are in 2023.
The future.
The future, yeah. And, you know, that I come up with a theme every year. And that's kind of is like my theme that I go to. And that is the guiding, constellation for my endeavors. This year, it is manifesting abundantly, you and me, 2023.
I love it.
Yeah,
it's good abundance.
It's my magic, actually.
Well, this year for me has been learning to live with less. I'm down a leg, not an amputation, but I burst out my Achilles tendon, and the last few months has been a trial in perspective and understanding how valuable mobility is, and getting to go through that process has been really altering. I won't say very active, but I was way more active than I am now. Walking daily, jogging, going to the gym, to a complete halt of that. I'd liken it very similar to depression and grief cycles, and now I'm on the up. I think the last few weeks, people ask me how you're doing. I'm like, I'm great. I'm doing really well. Like, I've come to a recognition that my leg is going to take time to heal, but I've also decided that when my leg is healed, I'm going to appreciate it more because of this experience. In fact, I even dream about walking. I dream about running. It's like becoming part of my abundance at night. I'll think about it before I go to bed. I'll try to visualize myself walking again, running again, doing workouts. And now it's just leaking into my dreams. My subconscious is picking up on the hints that I'm going to work out really hard and live really good because of this experience that I couldn't have had without this. Short of tying my leg to myself for 3 months, I don't know how you experience something like this.
What a deep perspective to share there. Because I know for you that's earned, you and I, we connect, and this podcast often has themes of recovery on it. And a lot of times it has to do with choices that people make that take them down a road where, to get their life working again, it takes a lot of effort and different skill sets. And we've talked a lot about the skill set of recovery. It applies to everyone all the time. And you're applying that now to your experience. And, one of those experiences where it's no fault of your own. It was just you're doing what you do in life. And the Achilles is a major tendon, and it's major surgery and major recovery.
I'm learning that that's an absolute truth, and understanding that, listening to my body is really important. I go to this awesome Chinese doctor, Dr. Ding, and he'll say, "Hey, Jared, your head lies, your body tells the truth. Listen to your body."
I love that. Can you use his voice? Let's see. What's your
Jared? Your head lie, your body tell the truth. He's such an amazing man. I love that guy, and shortly before I injured myself...
And he does acupuncture, is that what you said?
He does acupuncture and herbal medicine and lots of wisdom drops. Like, you sit there and listen to him, and he'll share his wisdom with you. However, I was sitting there playing basketball with friends, and my body started to tighten up. I started to feel my calf start to twinge. So I checked myself out of the game, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to rest. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to take care of it. And as I'm sitting on the sideline, there's another guy there. He's like, yeah, I wear these compression socks. It really helps my calves. I'm like, yeah, that's probably a good idea, whatever. And my body was telling me, just be done. Like, just be done. Don't risk it. Don't push it. You haven't played basketball in a few years. This is only your second or third time back in the last few years. But my head said, I want to go have a fun game. My cardio's good. I'm having a good game. I'm hitting my shots. I go back in the game. I hit a shot. I run down the court, and I'm picking up my pace. I'm outrunning all these guys because I'm feeling good. And within just a few seconds, I turn left and pivot, and it feels like I got shot. Big audible pop. Everyone heard me, heard it. I heard it. now I'm pretty soon I'm on the ground and I'm not moving, and I'm in intense pain and all that process. And hey, if I would have just 10 seconds ago listened to my body and superseded my head, I would be okay and I wouldn't be in this situation. And a lot of that shoulda, couldas come out, and they came out for weeks. Oh, man. If I had any idea what this recovery is like, what the surgery is like, what the pain is like, post-surgery for a few days of just pure hell, leaning into breathing and meditation and just moment to moment trying to survive, all that comes to mind. And then even the process of taking pain meds, like I don't like pain meds. And experiencing that feeling of, I don't even feel in my body. I looked at my eyes. I'm like, who's that guy in the mirror? Like, he doesn't even look real. It's another piece of getting a feeling for what people go through. And they gave me oxycodone, I think is what it was, or I don't know which one of the oxys. But it wasn't, I didn't feel like it was working. And I opted to move to Tylenol only and ibuprofen only. And I started to feel a lot better. But I did have a little like word in the back of my head, hey, just take an oxy, it'll help you. I'm like, is it going to help? Because I haven't felt it help. And I have all this fear of, I don't want to pull up an addiction on that. I don't want to add that to my problem list. And then I go to the doctor and like, well, you use your 20 pills yet? You need more? I'm like, hell no, I'm good. I'll suffer through this. I'm grateful for my breathing tools, my technique, and I've learned, and I've been able to grow through a lot of that.
Wow. There is so much to take away from that, and I really appreciate you really sharing that, because that experience, to be so present to it, that while you're still in it, because you're in your boot and you're making your way through the hallways, not like you normally would walk, but you're having to adapt. My yoga guru, where I go practice yoga, one of the themes that I've picked up from the owner there is less is more. Less is more, less is more, less is more. And what you appreciate appreciates, and that you cannot live in a way to avoid adversity, that's for sure. But for you to even dare to attempt to take the attitude that, hey, things are always working out for me. Hey, what's in the way is the way. And to allow your body and you and your life to be in the experience together as much as you can, it's a practice. I imagine that you're getting a lot less resistance, you're having insight, the pain is a teacher, and all those things. And it's serving you instead of something you're waiting to get out of the way so you get back to your life, because this is your life.
Yeah, I've looked at the practice, and this is a practice I have in my home, is that we practice the and principle. So something bad happens and we live our life. Mom has a problem, like her dad has a problem, or so-and-so has a problem, and we live our life. And putting it into that perspective allows me to still have a living, working life. It's not waiting for the happiness. It's experiencing it today. However, along the path, there's a lot of teaching that's happening there. Not sleeping, feeling pain, aches and pains, body cramping, things like that. Fear of falling down, like all these different things. Like a lot of that comes up, and I'm able to just kind of sit in it and feel it either way and breathe through it, work through it.
And through the work of somebody like Joe Dispenza and the research they've done about visualization and imagining your body healing back the way you want it to heal, and creating sensations of mountain biking again and hiking and being able to stretch and whatnot, your body responds. Even to a cellular level, your body has intelligences all the way through. It knows what to do. And I think the unique insight and perception of marrying or combining or finding that right recipe of Eastern and Western medicine serves us all of us best.
Yeah, I kind of lean towards Eastern medicine just from my experiences with the medical field and things that have happened in my family. And that visualization process, I've taken it to a level of, hey, I just took some herbs. I took, some supplements that are healthy. They're plants. I visualize those plants working through my body and rooting. I visualize a feeling of a plant and its strength. One supplement I've been taking, I've just been feeling called to, is burdock root. And burdock root is a weed by most stands. It's a big elephant ear. It's really tough to get out of the ground. You got to dig it deep. It's got a thick trunk on it. That's the healthiest part of the root. It's really strong. So the burdock root, as I'm eating this pill, I'm visualizing the strength of those roots, reforming my tendon, strengthening the muscles, strengthening the bone. And I feel a connection to the supplement. I'm like, this is actually part of me now. You know, what you eat becomes part of you. Why wouldn't I get some of the attributes and traits of that plant or that piece of me? And the two things that really stood out to me was burdock root and bird of paradise flower, the strength and beauty of it. Like I didn't take any supplement of that, but as I meditated, as I visualized, I just kind of let the bird of paradise come into my mind and come into my body and feel its beauty, its strength, its resilience, its tolerance, all those different pieces, let them kind of become part of me. And it feels strengthening. I feel rejuvenated and revitalized through those processes.
I teach a yoga class every Sunday, and it's called Sunday Abunday, and it's an abundance centered or centric yoga practice. And one of the important truths about that practice is abundance is the relationship that you have with your body or your experience. It's not what you think other people think of it. So if I'm stuck in what somebody else might think of it, then that's going to be my abundance is conditional, and it can't. The ability to attract is very, it's not something that I can influence directly. I have to wait for something to come or something. But it's that as I tend to the relationship of how I feel about my body and how and where and what, etc., and look for what it is and not what it isn't, and what is possible and not what it isn't. Well, what you focus on expands, and so you feel that relationship and tending that relationship of that part of you that you can see and you can't see, and what we know now, because you can measure it, is it only benefits that recovery process. If you think about the root, I love the root analogy, because the trees you see outside, if they're 20 feet tall, there's 40 feet of roots underneath. And for you to practice putting in roots and grounding and becoming strong from the adversity and forge through it and not weakened or lessened, that's straight up Bruce Lee stuff right there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And a piece that's coming up for me is my imagination is powerful. When I was a child, I was one of the most imaginative kids there was. I was running through the yard. I was stepping on lava. I was climbing trees. I was winning the game winners with deep threes in the yard. I was kicking soccer balls through imaginary goals. I had a powerful imagination, and I was incredibly happy. As in those youthful years, I felt so much joy, and my life would manifest joy in the moment. I didn't have to wait till someday, somewhere. That didn't exist as a child.
Happily ever after is now. It's not in some other future tense.
So if I'm a whole person, my childhood is part of me, my inner self is part of me, my adult is part of me. My imagination is a powerful creator of happiness and joy. And if that's my main motivation, is to feel happiness and joy through adversity, or just to feel my life, I can tap my imagination, and who knows where it's imagination and where it's actual reality. Who knows where the universe is actually intervening, or God is intervening and saying,
do we even need to know?
I can feel really good in that space of creation. I don't need to have some scientific document saying, hey, if you imagine more, you're going to feel good. No. My imagination is a part of me. And I feel like a lot of us as adults, myself included, lose touch with our imagination. We stop playing, we stop having fun.
We get smart.
And we lose that connection to who we really were.
Option 2, it's a choice. Mm-hmm. It's a practice, right?
And I see it now too. Like a lot of children these days, they shortcut their imagination with media. Their real play friends become YouTube friends, and they lose that imagination. And it's at a very young age. We're seeing it as 2, 3, 4-year-olds having iPads in their hands, and this generation, call them Generation Alpha, they're a generation that's raised with so much technology that they don't even have an imagination when they get into their older years or their teenage years, they've lost so much of it. So the effects of not having an imagination creates a lot of imprinting. So other things come into you. You receive messages from those imaginary friends, the world on YouTube, the world in social media, wherever it is, and that has now become what you should think about yourself.
And this sandbox of that creativity and imagination is boredom. It's from the place of boredom that then we choose to fight pirates or dress up or go play that soccer game. Or if no one's around, well, I can play against all the greatest soccer players that I can dream up. And they don't have to be people. They can be, dinosaurs. But we can do it and make it and figure it out. And now my ability to see what isn't there and then make it real develops. And by the way, through studies of just imagination, that you're learning musical instruments, and I think it's piano, right?
Yeah.
In the Harvard studies of people imagining playing the piano, their brain, grew the neurons necessary to play the musical pieces. Or people that imagine themselves lifting, curling weights, they actually experienced, I think, a 20% increase in their muscle strength. So what we do know is that does have an effect.
Yeah, and you look at this, Michael Jordan. He had a book that I read when I was in eighth grade or something, I remember. But he said he made way more shots in his head than he ever made on the court. Seeing it go in. And you look at the scientific research around the brain can't really tell the difference.
Nope.
So it just says, all right, we're making shots. We're envisioning a better life for ourselves. We're connecting. Where I watch a lot of research, and I listen to Jordan Peterson talk, and he talks about how when these kids lose that imagination too early, then their increases of anxiety, depression, uncertainty of who they are, all these pieces come to play. They never got a role play.
Inability to play with other kids their age and learn those dynamics of negotiation and how do we make rules at work and what do you do when somebody cheats or how do we make it work, and
they don't get to learn from each other,
right?
So they're only getting a one-way directional relationship with all this media, all these things that haven't, whatever their intents are, may not be so good. Maybe some are good, but you get into this space of what Jordan Peterson says is they don't have an imagination anymore. So they're depressed, they're anxious, they're struggling with their gender identity, they're struggling with who they are in this world, creating these new issues that they could just grow out of. Or they could become serious problems for them.
And they're not developing their most abundant, vital resource to solving all of those life experiences or solving for those life experiences, which is your creativity.
Yeah. And if you don't have that creativity thriving in your life, well, now you're the only child syndrome with no friends, and your only friend is this outward media or system. It's a pretty lonely, isolating place to be.
It comes and finds you, by the way. You don't always give them permission to be in your space. It just kind of sometimes bullies its way in and is now in your space.
Absolutely. And if I had a time machine and I could go back 10 years, I would take out all media from my house. I've got 5 young children. I'd highly, highly recommend getting rid of all smartphones. Kids are really smart. Generation Alpha, Gen Z. They are smarter than you as a parent. They're smarter than me. And I thought I was pretty good at technology. I'm pretty decent.
You are.
But they're very, very good at it. And that stuff finds them. Like the app Snapchat, that's an evil app. Mm-hmm. It's complete trash. And if your kids are on it, they're getting subjected to trash all the time. There's always a good intention in front. Like, let's see friends. I'm going to connect with friends. They're going to send me messages. I'm going to smile or whatever. We're going to connect. But that's not a real healthy substitute for a real friend. A person in the real is so much better than 50 online or 100 online. In fact, 5 minutes of social media is showing depression increase, anxiety increase. 5 minutes. In 10 years from now, if we have some sort of an honorable system of research to actually look back, they'll say, why were we letting our kids smoke? Why were we letting our kids do crack? That's the equivalent of the danger and damage of Snapchat, of Instagram, of TikTok, of Be Real, of all these apps you probably haven't heard of if you're a parent and you're just like, oh, they just got their phone and they're always on it. They're always on it, and they're always getting messages of trash, direct messages to them that they're not good enough, that they need to compare themselves to somebody else.
And whether so trash can mean so many things. I think another way to say it is, as a parent and what the values you'd want to instill in your children to live the life that could be possible, there will be an avalanche, a tidal wave, a flood of messaging against those values or those wishes that you have as a parent.
Yeah, they have their own message. So if you look at the overarching message that Generation Z is going through right now from the internet.
So let's tie this in real quick. So this is leading into what we're seeing in 2023. You as a clinician running recovery resources, a program, a coaching service, family groups, and this is speaking out to families. This is going out and calling out to individuals in distress, or units of people who care about people around them and themselves. What are some of the trends that we're seeing from a clinician and a coaching perspective and in the industry that we can shed light on and give some insight and perspective on? Well
put. And what I'm kind of going through the different generations here, because I think that each generation has its different trials and struggles that they go through. And coming from my own family and coming from the clients I work with, we're looking at the Gen Z generation.
So Gen Z's, they're in their 40s. I think they're 1979 to 91 or something like that.
It's more recent. You're Gen X then.
Yeah.
So Gen Z is pretty much anyone who's
5 to 2000, something like that.
It's like 2006 to now.
Oh, those are millennials. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. That's right.
Basically,
Gen Z is the most recent.
Basically, our current teenagers.
Teenagers. Yep. Okay.
Are Gen Zs. Gen Alpha is our young ones, our 12 and unders.
Okay.
And then millennial is 20s. You just go up a bit. So, I mean, I'm not giving you exact numbers. We could look it up and really break it down. Go ahead, figure that out. But in general, those teenagers, young 20s, are our Gen Zs. There's a lot of technology in their life. There's a lot of replacing the imagination with social media. There's a lot of isolation, and there's some general themes coming out from these generations. So Gen Zs and millennials are having these themes come out of, we don't want to have children in this world. The world is too messed up. So they have this message that the world is too messed up, so why would we have children in it? They have a message that everything is screwed, that the future is messed up. Like there's no hope for the future. The environment is too messed up. Politics are too messed up. The national debt's too high. Life is unmanageable, which is a term we use in addiction. When your life becomes unmanageable and you recognize that, become aware of that, that's when you start to get help. So the entire, and to put this fairly, like not everyone's going to fit in this box. I'm not trying to say that. But there is a message across the internet which has become the new parent, that circumvents regular parents, that says all these messages. And they're very nihilistic. There's a strong message of who gives a shiz? Like nothing works, nothing cares, don't care, don't try. And that consistent pounding of that message is telling them that the world outside of you. Well,
real quick, the spectrum can be from all the way from outright evil to just downright dumb. And it's that spectrum, that wide variety of messaging that, first of all, is in the interest of the apps and the advertisers and the tech producers and purveyors, because that's what gets more engagements, usage, time on, etc. So when we appeal to the basest, needs or wants of a human, that is what is the most able to capture short-term attention. So I think it's not. Let's just put it out there that it's technology. It's not in the best interest of us as individuals. It's in the best interest of it.
So true. And if you think about it, even as an adult now with a smartphone, I get anxiety if I leave my phone away from me for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. I used to live without one. You know, it's we don't realize what we have now that we don't really need. We've got this perception from all these sources outside of us. Call it really good marketing. Marketing's always priming us. It's always telling us what we need. All these
convenience is compelling.
Yeah, in our youth, they're in this jam because there's these powerful algorithms that are powered by very intelligent math equations and artificial intelligence that pay so much attention to you. They have so many data points on you. They see what you click on. They see how long you wait to scroll. They see your interests. They see what your friends are sharing with you. And then they feed you very, very strong algorithms that do not have good interest in mind. And I'll give you an example. One of my sons, he's struggled with social media addiction, and it's been really detrimental to his health. And he had a friend send him a video of like a self-harm video, for example. And it was like just one of those, it was a horrible video. He didn't want to watch it, didn't want to see it. But then his algorithms just started sending him over and over and over again the same stuff. That's not good. That's horrible. And not to mention that these companies use a very strong addiction building principles into their software.
They absolutely know how the brain works. They absolutely know what the stages are and what kids' brains and bodies will respond to on a chemical, neurological, biological belief, age and stage development.
And if you think that your kid's safe because they're not on social media, well, what are they on the Xbox?
Roblox?
Are they on Roblox? Roblox has all kinds of predators on there.
All kinds.
And Fortnite? Fortnite is it's a casino. If you watch that game for 5 minutes.
Here's the game. Shoot people in the head and take their stuff. So if you want your kids learning that for hours, shoot people in the head and take their stuff, that's the game.
And dance over someone's body and make inappropriate gestures.
Hypersexualizing things. Mm-hmm.
And look at the colors. The colors are like casino lights.
Vegas.
Bing, 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 bing.
Good
and
point.
There's auditory responses. Ding, 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 ding. You just got a treasure chest, and it's full of all these things you must have. Kids are really, really into that. And then they're hitting buy now. Mom, can I buy this $5 thing? Can I buy this $10 thing? My oldest son, he probably spent $600 of my money carefully and quietly before we caught it. And it was all just junk, non-essential. For skins, which those skins, by the way, some can be very hypersexualized. My 9-year-old son, he saw a girl jumping and bouncing, and her chest was up and down, and he got curious. So I caught him like looking at it on YouTube, a repeat of this Fortnite character going up and down,
gyrating in suggestive ways.
So we had a biology talk. There was no shame involved. We just talked about human biology, how the brain works, how dopamine's released, all that. And it became a real positive experience. We were able to have that conversation with him and his older brother. And they're both like, I don't really want to play video games anymore. Like they're both choosing to stay off of video games after the education on dopamine and how these corporations are pulling kids in and hijacking their brains.
We so this is one aspect, right? So the way electronics and technology is interfacing with and teenagers are coming up for you and I a lot lately. You and I both have teenagers. We work with clients and families and that have teenagers or young adults in their 20s. And I coach a high school soccer team. So I get to work with them and I love it. There is so much good and amazing things happening in that generation. And to see them feel so oppressed and challenged and defeated and confronted and overwhelmed in what sometimes I perceive as less work than I had to do, or so quote unquote easier, so to speak. Well, in some ways it is easier. have them feel so heavy. It is heartbreaking, and it's not okay. And you and I are in a place to do something about it.
And as I look at this as coming from our parent perspective, how do we help our children? How do we help them with these aggressive algorithms? How do we help them with this nihilistic internet that's telling them that values are worthless, that everything is going to fall apart and nothing matters?
Yeah, because then when I turn on a video about good morals or Jesus or doing, a good deed, boy, you know what happens? They shut down. Mm-hmm. They get all irritable. Somebody gets a fight. Yeah, exactly. It's so crazy.
So I think about this question, and I talked to my Chinese doctor because he's become friends, Dr. Ding, and he says, when he got here in the United States 30, 40 years ago, things were quite a bit different in his perspective. And he's kept his children learning values. He says, my kids complain to me because I push integrity, I push honor, I push hard work. I persuade them to do these things. And they say, well, my American friends don't have to do that. Their parents don't push any of that. And his response is, if your parents really care about you, they'll persuade you to do hard work, and they'll persuade you to live with values and morals. They will. And he says his
children like that.
And they like it. Kids do need it, and they want it. If you're a parent who doesn't do that, and there's probably valid reasons. I'm tired. I work too hard. Bills.
It's no judgment. It's just you're in a place where hopefully you can choose the problems you want. So you can choose to, engage or, tango with these while they're in your home or when they're in their 20s, when they don't have a place to live. And when, it's hopefully you're in a place you can still choose what problems you want.
I love that perspective. Like, you get to choose them. Like, I'm choosing problems right now. Unfortunately, I'm dealing with teenage problems that I didn't want. And some of that's because I was blissfully unaware of the dangers of social media, internet, and other issues.
But also, they've come on so fast. The advancements and the things that parents now have to deal with, that's never been experienced this fast. And in the last few years, it's really escalated dramatically.
So as we look at that, like, all right, we have a problem. We can recognize there's these problems. I'm choosing now to help Generation Alpha in my family. They're not getting smartphones. They're not getting free reign to the internet. I've signed up for filtration systems.
Yep.
I've gotten rid of the tempting T-Mobile plan that gives you a cheap family plan that has almost zero filtration intentionally, so they can keep selling your data, or the AT&T or Verizon. They do not have your best interest in mind. These big carriers, they have really, really crappy filter software, and they don't care because they make more money off their data they steal from you than they do off your monthly plan.
Sure.
So
if you can't tell what the product is you're buying or selling, then you're the product.
Absolutely. So I've switched over to like a Gab phone type product where there's several companies out there that there's no internet on them. There's no social media on them. Time, you can totally filter the time. It's been a game changer.
Yep.
My kid can communicate with his friends, but they're not sending pictures. They're not getting on the internet. And it's a communication device. It's not a play and be marketed to and corrupted system. We banned YouTube from our house. We weren't using it as an education. It's now blocked at an IP level. Not to say kids can't get around these things. I'm not saying I'm just saying we have to look. There are problems. I'm hopeful that Generation Alpha, all the parents are going to learn enough from the mistakes as millennials and the mistakes as Gen Zs that we don't have to repeat these problems. We can choose to do it different. So the next generation, and I'm not throwing out Gen Zs because you're going to learn from this. You're going to be stronger from it. But Generation Alpha, you have a great future because your parents aren't stupid. And they're going to change, they're going to adapt, and they're going to make a better world for you. And we're going to get better as a society at blocking the next Facebook, the next Instagram, and saying, we don't need that. We can have traditional, healthy values instead.
Something that you and I observed is, kind of a side note is it's really unfortunate, and also I guess it's with the trend, to see something like the Boy Scouts kind of come to a completion or not, when what is needed is time away, like in nature, out and learning. skills and physical, things to build or make or do that take time and effort and sacrifice, right?
We have lost rituals in our society. So our teenagers coming from childhood, 12, 13, preteens, Boy Scouts was a form of a ritual. When it was in its healthy form, I know we can go on the
We'll just say going camping and learning stuff and building fires and sleeping in the rain, all that stuff.
I remember there was an achievement in Boy Scouts that they stopped doing even in the 90s because it was a little bit too scary. But you go leave the Boy Scouts in the wilderness for a night and unsupervise them, and you don't give them supplies other than like a knife and some sticks.
Figure it out. And the kids would come out of that and they get a merit badge. It's like a coming to manhood badge. I don't know what you call it. But my scout leaders were like, I don't know if that's safe. We don't get sued. Like, we're not going to do that. We'll kind of half it. We'll camp over here. You guys go over there. You go build a fort and figure it out. But that danger, that figuring out, like hearing the wolves in the night, like whatever that story is, you become a man. You become a woman if you're, whatever that looks like for you. You become that piece that grows you. We've lost it in most of our society. And where I was going with that is the nature, right? So what I've observed too is trying to teach my kids the law of the harvest, or by your fruits you shall know them, or if you don't take care of a seed, or you plant it in poor ground and poor soil, those metaphors that were so germane to you and I growing up of like, oh yeah, that's how the world works, that are not that way. A good thing to keep in mind is if I'm going to eat sugar and I'm just going to have refined sugary, sweets and candies for my 3 meals, at some point in the very near future, I will throw up and get really, really sick. And to Generation Alpha, same thing with the technology. It'll get to a point where you'll find, we're getting there. We're getting there. That we're just, no, I'm fed up. This is too, we're sick of having to deal with the problems of my kids not learning things like picking up after yourself, or listening, or spending time outside, or respecting one another, or, those things that are foundational to fostering independence, which then gets them on their own into the world.
And we can look at what's happening. I've got family, I've got friends. They're saying my kids have tons of food allergies. They have tons of attention deficit problems. They have all these things going on. Well, are we looking at what we're feeding our kids? Are we letting them just eat sugar? Are we letting them eat junk food? Are we paying attention to what's in the food? Is our food genetically modified? Is our kids living on cereal and sugar? There's parents are tired. Like we're trying the best we can with what we have, but are we slowing down? Are we doing less, or are we just going to get more jobs to get more stuff that we don't really need, while our kids suffer?
Something you shared recently is you can take time to be well, or you will be forced to take time to be sick.
So true. And close to my family, I was talking to my sister-in-law just the other day, and she's like, my grandkids all have ADD. My grandkids all have anxiety. They're all under 10 years old. They're all that Generation Alpha. They all have food allergies. Their mom is so stressed. My daughter's so stressed that she's hiding in the closet while their kids calm down.
No judgment.
And when she's like, I wouldn't watch them. I had to lock them in the car because it's the only safe place. So she's like, they ran out of their ADD meds. So the kids were all over the place. So as soon as they got that medicine back in, it was like the candy line. Get your hand out. Come get your candy. Here you go. Is that really the solution for our children, to be in a candy line of prescription medications? No, it's not. And I asked, my sister-in-law, she's talking to me. She's like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, do you really want my advice? Or do you want me to just validate your pain?
You're genius about that. Of like, hey, what do you want it? Or I love that.
And then she's like,
are you open to advice?
Yeah. She's like, I think I do.
You're the professional.
So, I shared my feeling of taking care of the brain. Are we feeding the brain enough energy? Does it get nutrition? Does it get sleep? Does it get play? Does it get sunlight? Is your brain healthy? Are you eating a diet that's rich in brain nutrition? Well, they've got a lot of food allergies, so they're avoiding a lot. It's not so much about what you avoid. It's what you intentionally put in.
That's right.
What are you doing for that? And I know it sounds like a lot, And it may sound like it's more expensive, but it's really not. The damage you're getting, the illness you're treating is so much worse. So all the way down to like a molecular level, we're seeing that RNA, which is in genes, can be manipulated. So if you're feeding your kids genetically modified foods, wheat is the main one right now. It's the conversation of choice.
Closely followed by corn.
And our solution is eat gluten-free. Well, a lot of the stuff in gluten-free is actually crap.
Right.
It's actually crap.
You would know. Yeah.
I would know. I hate gluten-free food. That's what I mostly eat. And it's not by choice because my stomach has a problem. Well, the genetically modified wheat has been completely stripped down to try to fight off bugs. It's even lost its gender. Wheat's had male and female gender. It doesn't anymore. It's gender neutral. So this gets in your body. You get these things in your body. You get this food in your body. Your body doesn't know how to respond to what's happening. An RNA response is triggered. So this food no longer is biologically healthy. Is this poison? Is this healthy? Is this something that modifies my gene response? Do I start responding differently? Do I now have symptoms of ADHD, anxiety, depression, confusion?
Headaches, brain fog, fatigue, irritability.
So parents, I know it's hard. Buy organic, eat local, grow vegetables. And stuff you probably know, but it's stuff you're not doing. Instead, you're taking the illness with it.
Here's the truth. Here's an axiom of truth that I've come to experience as true. And the great thing is, it's a hypothesis you can test, is that every parent that's engaged is entitled, will get insanely inspired action for them and their family at this time. Maybe it's to get vaccine shots. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's to go eat these foods, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's to go, on a diet from tech or fast from tech. Maybe it's not. But if you seek it, it will come. That's something I have found to be true.
If you seek it, it will come. If you put energy in to improving your family, improving your own health, it's going to happen. We know that parents don't spend a lot of one-on-one time with their kids these days. Dr. Ding would say, if you're a good parent and you care, you do. And you find undistracted one-on-one time. You find time to teach and learn and grow. Throw a football, throw a baseball, get in the pool, as you've said in the past. Don't just go to the pool, get in the pool, even if it's just a few minutes. That relationship I'm finding with my Gen Alpha kids is super meaningful. They're still receptive. They still want me in their life. They still, at least they vocalize they want me in their life. My teenager, he needs me in his life, but he doesn't know how to vocalize that. Instead, his mind and his friends online, the world of media, tell him parents are stupid. Don't listen to them, or adults are dumb. And you listen to some of the people he listens to, and this is no dig on my son, but he listens to these people with this monotone voice that they talk like, dude, like everything's just stupid. Who cares?
Like stoners.
You're stoners. And they say some funny stuff and they make fun of some things and it's okay, but why would you even care? I'm like, you listen to those feelings and those messages at a subconscious level, whether you realize it or not, that becomes part of who you are.
Here's the trade-off in that's really hard for it's really hard to see. You can feel it and perceive it, and teenagers particularly, they know it, but they can't put their finger on it often, is that voice. Why you and I on the outside might look and be like, what? Why are you listening? It's so dumb. Why are you watching somebody unpackage something and so fascinated by it on YouTube again? Well, that voice, what it offers you is you get to be morally superior to somebody who's less than you. You don't even know them, so you can act in a way that you wouldn't if you did know them or if they were in your world, physical world. And you don't have to take on responsibility. What is not taught is the whole deal. Like, you got to tell the whole story. The whole story is, if you're willing to abdicate responsibility, you then are not entitled to satisfaction, joy, fulfillment, purpose, and connection. because that is only found by taking on responsibility and then giving your gifts and talents or attempting to do so.
So as we know these are the right messages, we know that our kids, our families, our friends, we need to be more responsible. We need to have values. We need to be taught integrity. We need to embrace integrity. The media and the professional media, we'll even call it psychology media, they're telling a different story.
The messaging and the megaphones that are now reaching directly into our kids and even our spouses, or without really able to engage or talk about it.
So I want to bring up one that's really been a hot button in the community. It's been a hot button just me talking with people. We hear now a teenager who comes in, or a young preteen, or even a young adult, and they'll say, "Hey, I've got all these issues. I've got anxiety, I got depression, I got suicide thoughts. I think I might have an attraction to men." And there might be a man, or they might say, "I think I might be a boy in a girl's body," and the terminology for that is gender dysphoria, or curiosity. Like I'm just kind of questioning my sexuality or my place in this world, or my body.
What is it? What does it mean?
What is it? So our children, our preteens, our young adults are coming into these type of questions. And if you're listening to the professional media, they're saying to me, for example, I'm a therapist. They're saying, you really shouldn't talk to your clients about that.
And okay, so keep on.
Well, they'll say you really shouldn't do anything but affirm that those feelings should be explored. They should actually go do that. So if I have a client who's young and they're
you say feelings of I should be somebody different than my biology, or I and feeling like this sexuality is one thing when I've been taught it's supposed to be something else, or something like that.
Absolutely. So the overarching media will tell them, immediately accept those feelings, go and find a tribe, a group of people that will embrace you for exactly as you are. So professionals are being told that we're not allowed to really explore that with people. Could there be other factors? So
does that mean gay or lesbian or transgender or curious or questioning? Is that what we're kind of that?
Yeah, there's a quick label put on there.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to explore those feelings in any way other than affirmation, which affirmation is confirm.
Will you define what affirmative care means? So from a clinical perspective,
affirmative care is essentially saying, that thought you have is an absolute fact. It's truth. You are that. It doesn't explore the edges. It doesn't explore any other contributing factors. And the implication is it should be acted upon now. Yeah, there's an implication that if you don't act upon this now, you're going to get suicidal, or you're going to get more depressed.
Things will get worse.
Yeah. And in some states, we're seeing kids are circumventing their parents, and the states are allowing that. In some countries, the same thing. And I'm not. I don't want to get into the political side of this, because I know
that's not where. Yeah,
it's not where we're going. Where we're going is, why can we not have conversations? Why can we not explore some of the edges? Jordan Peterson talks about it. He brings on guests about this, and he talks about how when a child explores wearing a dress as a boy wearing a dress, or a girl wearing a boy's clothes in play form, pre-12 years old, they have a good imagination. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that they are or aren't something. They're learning, they're exploring, they're creating. But when they lose that connection, they don't have an imagination now, and they go on Google or wherever their daily dose.
You were saying professional media. You were saying the clinical sources of DSM, psychologists today, the boards that regulate counselors and therapists and stuff like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, they're shutting down any conversation. They're shutting down the opportunity for someone to explore it.
Because body dysphoria is not new.
No,
it's been around for a century, right?
Yeah, it's been around, and that's kind of where the numbers jump off and they get scary. Is 20, 30 years ago, we're talking like 0.00 something.
Yeah.
And it was a very rare condition where someone would manifest symptoms that could have come in early childhood that could have been along their whole route. Well, now it's showing up in high percentages.
Well, and it was to present as a woman or present as a man, not necessarily to be a man or be a woman. Correct?
Yeah. And I'm sure there's someone out there who's listening and is like, they're massacring this. Like, and I don't proclaim to be a professional.
Our intent is to understand and share what we're experiencing so we can win together.
Yeah. Ultimately, as a professional, I want to be able to have conversations with people. I want to explore, well, you also have depression. You also have anxiety. You also have these other things. Could there be correlations? Could there be
just like your sister-in-law with the food allergies?
Yeah. Could there be some other pieces? I've experienced this with people who they also want to escape their life. Like their life has become really hard or really unbearable. So putting on a mask and looking different may be an alternative that feels better. However, can we talk about that without being labeled transphobic, without being labeled homophobic? Can we talk? Or are we just all marching to the same tune happily along while children, preteens, young adults are making massive decisions that could be lifelong and damaging?
Well, you say happily. I know that's tongue in cheek, but it's actually miserably along because, and you know, because you've been looking into what research or data we do have is walking down this road does not correlate with the alleviation of these comorbidities that people are experiencing.
It does not. Typically, and it's hard to find the research data because a lot of it is it's heavily masked, it's heavily pushed down, it's heavily criticized. So if you look at the data, people come out and they don't want to talk. Like Jordan Peterson was scared to talk about this topic. He brought on a professional, a reporter who was non-biased, who her whole point was, why is there no data? Why is it all hidden? Mm-hmm. And she identified there was literally hundreds of books that were pro-affirmation and 0 books that were the other way around. 0. That's a big red flag. And then the numbers, especially with teenage girls, was through the roof. We're talking up to 17% of all teenage girls in California are now experiencing gender dysphoria.
It tends to skew upper middle class white.
It does. And it tends to look like families that are or people who are trending towards whatever the current social media is, whatever the current thing is. And teenage girls in traditional past tend to do that. They tend to clump together and follow a trend. But to call it a trend, to say, hey, your gender dysphoria, it could be rapid onset, it could be a trend, it could come, it could go. To call it that, you're now being transphobic, according to bigger people, bigger groups.
I think to share where I'm coming from, so you're the clinician and you're so good at what you do and you're so good at wanting people to experience a life that they can live into and helping them find tools and skills to amend mistakes or to develop and have relationships that are meaningful and deep and fulfilling. Is second to none. It's unparalleled, Jared. So I applaud and appreciate your genuineness to it. You just want to help God's children feel better. Help the children and the human beings, your fellow human being, to experience a better life on this existence, in this planet. And as a coach, where I'm coming from is my background and where I often am able to really connect deep with people is helping them get into their body and helping them get into and connecting with that inner wisdom that comes in when you're able to be one with yourself or to find a way to be more all of you and gravitate towards a way of that being something that's valuable and important and significant to your world, so much so that you're willing to do the work and make the sacrifices to bless those around you and those you don't even know, so that your experience can turn into something that now is a guide or an aid or a story, an inspiration for those around you, as well as, I just want your life to work. And that's my main is, if you're not in your body, often your life is not working, or some area of it. And if you can get in your body and you are able to tap into that, then you're able to find the solutions that are magical. They're inspired. They're unique, and they're significant. I've worked with a handful of clients that are going through this experience or that come from this place, and it's been great experiences all around. And I think part of it is because I don't give a shit. I don't care if that's what's coming up for you. What I do care about is that if you can get in your body and you can find a way to connect, you will find a way through to being connected and having relationships that matter, and being able to pursue or do what you want to do. And when people aren't able to identify that, they feel transparent or translucent, or they're not being seen, or they can't connect to their body. That's that's an observation I've had that is really why I want to, kind of talk about how we find a way through this together.
Yeah, I think if we can take a subjective view and kind of, all right, let's just look at this. What are some solutions other than affirmation? What are some solutions other than complete disfigurement of your body? Like that becomes like a focal point. So the media will push that, or the professional organizations will push that. Well, go solve that. Go solve that. Go solve that. Well, we don't have to solve that right now. There is a possibility of what we call a wait and see approach. You can wait and see until someone's in their mid-20s or a little older to make a professional decision.
For puberty and teenagerness to work through what's coming up.
But what you'll hear on the contrast of that is, if you don't affirm it, if you don't go get puberty blockers, you don't start doing all those things.
There's significant, serious medications and solutions and prescriptions.
So you hear this kind of fear drum going off, call it a war drum. If you don't do this, this person's going to kill themselves.
And by the way, you're a bad person or a bad parent or whatever.
And if you're in Canada, they might take your kid away. So now if you have any kind of perspective of different, you're in trouble. So we're taking away all the possible solutions and options to help explore what could be healthy, what could create a life with more meaning and more purpose, what could help you get in your body and connect with who you really are. I know when I've worked with this profile of someone who's struggling, I work on, who are you? Like, what's the person inside saying? Has that person been neglected? Has that person not been listened to? Does it not play and engage in fun anymore? Who are you? And are you in your body, or are you out of your body?
Another observation that is that comes up for me is often, especially when somebody's going through a recovery program or substance abuse or use has come up, some of the trauma often ties back to some kind of sexual trauma. And an observation I have is, now when you start making the main, thrust of your life about sex, you're talking more about sex, which, if sex was the thing that really kind of was a part of your life experience, is significant in a negative way. Talking more about sex and sex and sex, that strikes me as something that magnifies or amplifies maybe the negative experience, not resolves.
Yeah, anything you magnify will expand.
Yeah, what you focus on expands.
And whatever you resist will persist. I know in these kind of cases, people have very persistent voices in their head. They'll tell them things like, this is what it is. This will solve all your problems. Everyone else is stupid. This. And it's so persistent, and the tendency is to push that under the rug. No. Well, then at some point it boils up. And anything you stuff into your subconscious long enough, your subconscious is there to serve you. It's there to try to understand what you need in the conscious state. So you stuff, eventually it's going to serve up a monster for you, because it doesn't know what to give you. It'll create a new identity for you. It'll give you something new. It'll build something unique and special, but it won't be you anymore. You'll have to live in the fantasy of what the monster is or what's been created. So it will serve you, but it will serve you up what it thinks you need. And if you don't know what you need, you don't know who you are, you're not connected to your body, it manipulates and turns into something totally different.
If you're not practicing some sort of discipline or guidelines, or you don't have a code or like, that's why I think having a set of values or code or standards is so imperative, is because it's what tames the dragon. If you don't have anything to tame the dragon, it will burn everything up to the ground.
And you look at, I'm going to go back to kind of societal stuff going on right now. Millennials and Gen Zs are leaving traditional values in droves. Like, it's by the thousands daily. Like, we have so many people like, yeah, you know what, my parents they were too strict, or they were too ritualized, or they were too religious. They're leaving and leaving and leaving.
I don't believe in God, I'm spiritual, or I choose my own higher power.
Yeah. And there's messages out there of, well, if I want to give my money to give it away, like, why do I have to give it to religion? I just give it to whoever I want. Like, so they just kind of fill these messages, and they start to create their own system or lack of a system.
And we're not saying they're right or wrong or good or bad, but what we do observe is whether a life works or doesn't work. And
when you get rid of a system, you throw out the whole car, or someone might say the tire's gone flat, throw out the whole car.
Yeah.
You get rid of a system, and you want to pick and choose some things maybe you'll keep. That takes effort and work. If you listen to Jordan Peterson talk about this, he says your forefathers, your generations that came down, they only left you the nuggets. They only left you the best of the best. They filtered out everything else through their life experience. Your life isn't long enough to go learn all that. So if you want to adopt a new system by yourself, you're not going to live long enough.
And by the way, that's in your genes too, in your body.
Our genes are generational. We have research that backs up, you collect at least 3 genes.
Yep.
3 generations. So your forefathers, your family, maybe you don't agree with the religion or the belief system anymore, but if you throw it all out and you just self-identify as, I'm a spiritual person now.
Or whatever you feel like in the moment.
Or you don't identify as anything, which is more common. The research is showing most people who leave their belief systems are just not putting anything in there. They're kind of more self-absorbed. They're more worried about getting theirs. But who cares? The world sucks anyway. Like, why would I worry about the world? Why would I worry about politics? It's that going back to that nihilism. So they're adopting a religion, whether they know it or not. The nihilistic cult is becoming the general religion of the internet. And the people who don't choose the problems that they really want, don't choose to work with integrity and hard work and value systems. They may say they do. You can put it out there where everyone sees it on a bumper sticker, be kind, do kind, whatever, and flip someone off while you're cutting them off. They may say they do it, but are they really? No judgment, but what's happening to our kids? Our kids are inheriting, Gen Zs especially, are inheriting no values. Go figure it out. You got this. Go learn wherever. Well, if you don't help kids, persuade them to live with values, there are people out there, there are groups out there who will persuade them for you. They will not persuade, they will manipulate, and they will use technology and skills to really, really, really brainwash your children.
Well, and really pernicious half-truths or outright falsifications and lies, like meritocracy doesn't matter, like you can have something for nothing, like it's okay to take from somebody else when it's not yours, like not protecting property rights, like you are responsible, or you have the consequences of your choices are yours, and freedom of choice. It is your choice to do whatever, but the consequences also have to come with that. You can't pick and choose from that.
So what we've created is an unsafe environment.
In the era of non-bullying, and this has bugged me for it bugs me. It's been bugging me for years. I didn't like it when my kids were going through the elementary school, is no bullies. Well, when nobody's a bully, everyone's a bully. And we're seeing that in spades.
So if it's not safe, our sensitive children, our intuitives, our introverts, they're scared.
Our loving, tender, beautiful, innocent children.
Our artists, our creatives, our beautiful, all spectrums. they're not safe. So what are they turning to? To false identities. They're turning to tribes on the internet.
Or like you said, non-identities.
Or non-identities. So they're in the wind, cast about. So as a parent, what do we do? Like, how do we wrap around the millennials who are struggling, the Gen Zs, the alphas? How do we wrap around and cut through all the BS from psychology organizations to social media organizations to political people to school teachers who think they know more than you and they jump you and jump their parents? How do we cut through all that and really do some good?
First of all, finding a way to connect to something that's bigger than you is numero uno. Whether it's Father in heaven, Jesus Christ, mountains, a universal, intelligence, partnering up with something that is bigger and more wise and infinite that you can lean into or look towards or be inspired by is at the heart of it. Number two is a very sobering. What I found is I've got to lead the way. So if I want my kids to make some sacrifices or to make some choices, I've got to look to where I can do that as well. And that's, I think, where I am so grateful that I choose to have kids, or I'm able to, or having responsibilities, because the responsibilities ask you to be a better person, or to dig deeper, go further, try harder, do more than I would if I was just worried about myself.
I love both those points. And I would add to that and say it's okay to be unsure. It's okay. But it's also okay to explore a future with hope. One thing I come up with time and time again is this hopelessness that people have. And they'll say, oh, I'm not going to have kids in this world because the world's messed up. Well, what is the world? The world is what you make it. It's right in front of you. The world in my kitchen at night with my 5 little kids, and we're talking and giggling and cooking a pizza together or something, that's a really good world. And you can't experience that world unless you live it. You get to build the world that you want. Yeah, there's politicians that I don't agree with. There's societal issues I don't agree with.
That's massive trends that feel overwhelming. Yep.
That's another world. That's a bigger world. And it's tough if that's where you put a lot of your energy. It's draining. So don't put all your energy there. Believe in a hope-filled world. Believe in something different. Believe in change, that things can be better and will be better. Ask a child what their life's like. Children are generally pretty happy for the most part.
Well, let's hope. So for anyone who's turning off and be like, wow, these guys are just talking, unicorns and rainbows. Here's some facts. Facts are, in the last 100 years, it used to be 66% of the world's population was living with imminent starvation. Now it's less than 10%. Creating more wealth actually creates more innovation and more ways to solve problems. The industrialists in the early 1900s thought we were going to run out of iron ore, so they started hoarding it. We've got more steel buildings and more metal buildings and structures than ever before. In almost every way, things are more abundant and better and improving. That's the facts. Abundance is okay. So sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
In the way the universe works is there is light in the universe, and we can see it because we can see it. But there's dark matter as well, and we know it's there, but we can't see it. And so when in your life things are dark or things are, hard or confronting or impossible, at the same time, since Newton's law is there's always an equal and opposite reaction. At the same time, there is the impossible possible solution. There is the abundance that can be there for you. There is the way through the brain power. Everything is figure outable, and you can't have something get just exponentially worse without also on the other side, things becoming exponentially better.
So in that framework, the future is so bright.
So bright.
We have so much darkness right now, so much overwhelm on one side that there's a tidal wave effect. It's going to push back. There's going to be the good coming the other way. You can surf that wave, or you can drown in that wave. Like, you can choose. It's to pick your own adventure. What world do you want to believe in? My 9-year-old last night told me when we're talking about scripture study, we're watching cool videos and reading stuff together. He's like, Dad, what if there is no God and there's nothing really matters? I'm like, well, what if there is? And I'm like, what would you prefer? What if both realities were true? I mean, I didn't go into too deep with him on this. I just kind of explored it with him. But what if you could choose no God, nothing really matters, or a benevolent, loving God, everything matters, I'm here for a reason. God doesn't put broken things in the world. He helps us grow, and he loves us. He cares about us. He wants us to succeed. We are his children. We have divinity in us. We are holy. What if you could choose? Which one actually feels right? And it's without a question. It doesn't take much to realize it feels right. You don't have to think it through. You don't have to have some scientists spitting negativity at you. You can just feel it. And my son says, yeah, I choose that. That feels good.
And for you analytical types out there, let's say there isn't one, living a life as if there were leads to a life that is way more workable. And that's just been shown over time for not just yourself, but the relationships around you and the people you come in contact with. And as a group of people, progressing through time, living that way, you're able to leave, like you said, those nuggets of what really is important. That caring and the feeling of being seen or wanted or cared for or lived for or supported or, a part of something that you sacrificed for. It's for the teenagers, what they're missing is sacrifice. They think it's going to cost them something, but it actually gives them way more. But I think it's living that way. Your life just works better. That's just how it is.
So one of the questions that my teenager brought up the other day was, well, if people are leaving religion and people are giving up on this, why can't they communicate to us better? Like, why are we so different? Like, and I think
why can't
the religious leaders communicate to us? Why can't the leaders of the world show us a better way? Why can't they give us a better future? And I think my response to them was, I think it falls on both sides. As adults, as religious leaders, as political leaders, we can definitely do a better job at persuading a better way to live. We definitely can. Instead, a lot of adults, a lot of leaders around the world are selling a horrible way to live. They're projecting a lot of negativity and crossfighting and not getting along.
Well, it's a life of like, this is right just 'cause. Instead of like, it feels great. It feels great to tell the truth. It feels great to do work. It feels great to sacrifice. It feels great to not always, but trust that, on faith, or that, your injury will heal, or et cetera.
Well, and I think in the previous podcast you talked about was you want to create these friendship relationships with your children with boundaries.
Yeah.
So we're moving from I know best, you know nothing. Well, religious leaders need to move from that too. They need to move away from I know everything, you know nothing. Because on the other side of it, we're not trusting the intuition that people have.
Right.
We're not teaching people how to enable
themselves. Which is exploding in spades. I've seen so many people like, well, I've got this intuition, or I've got this spiritual energy, and it's really something to behold.
And that was kind of the conversation it led to with my son. I was like, are you seeking it? Are you taking more than 5 minutes a day to actually seek out good? Or are you just droning out to media, weird songs, crazy media, social media, droning guys on YouTube? And the answer in, I think, a lot of cases is these kids are not at all looking. They've already made up their mind that, okay, boomers.
Or it's hijacked because those, like you said, all those systems are now kind of hijacked, and it's hard for any of us to break out of that and get away from that.
Oh, where you put your time is where your energy is. So in this case with teenagers and with my son in particular, so much of his energy is spent in the virtual world that the real world doesn't exist anymore. So if you do seek it, you're going to find it. It's there. It's all around you. And people who are seeking it are exploding.
What you want wants you back. What you want wants you back.
So if there's a takeaway for parents that I can share is do your best not to judge. Do your best to become the parent of the future. Do your best to learn and grow and love and expand your ability to communicate. And that takes uncomfortability. That takes getting knowledge. That takes seeking and learning. But withhold your judgment. Withhold your anger. Withhold your prejudice. Withhold your political views. Withhold those things that you think are right, because what will happen is you're just going to build a wall between you and that loved one that will not be surpassable for many, many years, if not decades. It's difficult. It's hard. But what do you really, really want? Do you want a lifelong relationship? Did you birth a child to kick him out the door at 18 and never see him again? Or do you want to be right? Do you want to be the one in the room who knows everything? And unfortunately, a lot of us get stuck in that trap. We make unrighteous judgments. We have prejudice. We have lack of openness.
Use short-term solutions to get what we need because we think it's really important instead of long-term enabling, helping our kids understand how to live long-term.
And on the flip side of that, kids know our weaknesses. They know our buttons. They know our sensitivities. You're not going to be a perfect parent.
Parenting's about the parents, apparently. Kids are here to teach us.
Yeah. So it's a new frontier, but we have to change. We have to evolve, but we don't have to be drones. We don't have to take all the political views, all the psychology views, and make them our own. We need to trust intuition. We need to help our children trust intuition. We need to be solution-minded, not just being in a problem-saturated world where everything is crap.
Oh, can you say that again? I think that's really important.
We need to be solution-minded, not in this problem-saturated world where everything's crap.
And the solution is inside you. It's within you, or within what you're able to create in the relationships that are in your reach right now. It's not out there somewhere.
It's through speaking with your heart. All the logic, there's knowledge everywhere, plenty of smart people who think they're really smart. But what really matters is, are you speaking through your heart with your loved ones, your children, your friends, your family? Are you in that mindset where, all right, I'm going to filter through my heart what really, really matters? What really, really matters? Yeah, my child is really struggling with a lot of pain, and it hurts so much to witness that, to be part of that, to have a front row seat to that. I wish they would just take everything I have and learn. But I might not be the one right now to do that. But what I can do is valiantly listen and valiantly love and valiantly hold healthy boundaries and valiantly be a part of their life and show them that all that media that says your parents don't care is a lie. Because at some point, they are very intelligent. They're going to recognize that droning out guy on YouTube who hates the world is kind of a dumbass.
And just wants your clicks so he can make money off YouTube. He's not trying to make your life any better.
Yeah, his intention isn't to improve your life.
Yep.
Does he call you up? Is he there in the middle of the night? Is he your 1 in 5 that will show up for you in the middle of the night? Or 1 in 2, like your parents or your loved ones or your friends?
On that same note, you and I, we have our dog owners and we've raised dogs. And, when I've chosen to do my best to be the best dog owner I can, which means I've learned. And the authority in my world for dogs is Cesar Millan. And so what I've learned about dogs is if there is not somebody who is the alpha, if you're not it, it will try to fill that role. Same thing goes with teenagers or kids or parents. You are still the leaders. And most importantly, the way you lead forward is letting your family or letting the people you love know, hey, this is okay and this is not okay. If we say you need to be home 11, you need to be home 11. If you do these things and you lose your phone, you got to give the phone up. If you need to tell them if there is an adult that's trying to talk to you and say, don't tell your parents, it's evil and it's wrong. And when you see things on Instagram or Facebook or that you're like, oh, I should probably tell my kids about that. Don't answer the door for this reason or that reason. That inspiration, that's it right there. Mm-hmm. That's how these tools can now work for you and not against you. Having those conversations of, I love you. In fact, I love you enough to tell you that here's the consequences. And I'm going to do my best and I expect the same of you. And that leadership and that clarity, knowing where you stand, kids want it, parents want it, homes want it, friends want it, neighbors, like it just blesses the whole situation.
And I had this kind of mini revelation today that when my kid pushes a boundary, so my oldest son who's struggling a lot with his struggles, and I want to just stay safe. Like I want it to be safe. I don't want him to get worse. I want the family to be safe. And there's some trauma there. There's this fear that could go back to a really bad place. So like when the boundary line comes up, it's almost like, yeah, but if I hold that boundary today, it might get worse.
Thanks for keeping it real, because that's real.
It's not going to feel safe anymore. However, what I have found is, all right, I'm going to schedule a time to talk to my son, and we're going to talk about what healthy is. And I'm going to offer him an opportunity to present consequences. So, hey, when you don't wake up to go to school tomorrow, or if it happens tomorrow, I'm not going to assume it won't, because they take every assumption and run with it. Hey, if you don't wake up tomorrow and go to school on time, what is a fair consequence for you that will be meaningful enough that you'll have a demotivator to get your butt out of bed? Well, you could take my phone. Okay, so is that enough? Or do I need to turn the internet off for the entire day? Oh, why would you do that? No, I'm not asking you. Like, this isn't about me.
And this is the practice of not going to the hot button as a parent. That's the most painful to get the response you want in the moment, because that is not good.
It doesn't work. So immediately it becomes about me. Yep. Why would you? No, when your kid says, why would you? They're making it about you. They're trying to blow it up, whether they realize it consciously or subconsciously. So no, I stayed in my calm space and said, no, we're working on a consequence that will work for you. So this morning when he didn't want to get out of bed and I tried to wake him up and my wife tried to wake him up, I reminded him, do you remember our conversation last night that you're going to lose your phone for the rest of the day? You have 5 minutes to comply before you miss the deadline. Guess what? He got out of bed. He came upstairs. He got ready for school. It's not a perfect example, but what will happen is consistently, over time, holding healthy boundaries, not going back into those old patterns, will create a healthier system that's about something bigger than yourself.
And teenagers today or kids today, there's something really special about them. They're really, really neat people. They're good people. There's something special. And, going back a generation, parents wouldn't enroll their children in the consequence. They just say, this is how it is, right? Mm-hmm. It seems to be that the parenting, it now is enrolling them to be a part of the process. And, you make that work for you. But I found too, the more I enroll them in, like what works for you, like how does this, and where it's a negotiation and we're working together, then they own part of it. And that's that responsibility we're talking about. Then they share in the consequences and they get to choose. And that puts that independent spirit and that fosters that independent spirit.
And then this is a tool that I've adapted and pulled from you, Che, that I want to address on acknowledging the good.
Yeah.
So we practice put-ups in our home. Every night before we go to bed,
powerful, isn't it?
It's so powerful.
So powerful.
We've got a ritual going. So every night we do our family study, whether it's watching an inspirational video, read some good inspiration or scriptures together. Before we wrap up, we do gratitude and put-ups. And you can be grateful for yourself or for others. You can do put-ups for yourself or for others. And I've noticed that as we've been consistent with this practice, kids who were a little more shy before, who would only want to receive put-ups, they would never give them, they're now the first ones giving them. They're putting them out there. I've noticed my oldest son, who's kind of like, he'll show up for this. He'll show up for inspiration time. Doesn't take a lot of effort. He shows up, and he will receive them. He'll say,
wow.
He'll say, thank you.
That's rad.
He'll say, thank you. And you could feel that he actually feels it, and he needs it. He's not getting that in other places in his life. The YouTube guy is not giving that to him, but his brothers, his sister, his mom, his dad are acknowledging him and seeing him and giving him put-ups. And that's been a world of difference that I know that when he goes out in the world, he'll remember with gratitude. Oh man, there was something special there. And it's creating a culture of acknowledging and people showing up for each other.
And feeding the good dog, feeding the part of us that we want more of, like when you're going back to the nutrition. And it's not about, always what you're putting in, it's about what you're maybe not putting in. And we can start doing that. And here's the truth that you can take to the bank is he is doing that with people in his world. He's making some small put up and noticing them and saying, hey, you didn't receive it. Like you need a option to receive. And he's doing that. And then he's able to generate that now and see, oh, yeah, that does feel good. Maybe it feels good to feel good. Maybe I'll choose more of those things than the other things.
And the other side of that is I have a 12-year-old who's very extroverted and he's also very sensitive. And he has put this into practice on super speed. I go watch him play football now and he loves sports. He loves it. But after every play, he's complimenting someone. Hey, good job. Nice catch. He's giving high fives. After the game, this was 2 weeks ago, he went to every single player on his team, congratulated them, noticed something they did good, and players on the other team. And I was like, whoa, talk about a fatherly pride moment. Like, those sometimes feel few and far between. I was like, this kid is special. He is really embracing light and giving back to everyone around him.
And what's so wonderful is you did that, and it's not yours, and that feels the best. That now it's his. Mm-hmm. And you said something that's really stuck with me, and you talk about this, and it's the way I speak to my children becomes the inner voice they use as they mature, and to intentionally practice using that inner voice to counteract the other inner voices maybe that he's struggling with or that will, or as you've changed your voice over time as they've grown and they hear a different you. And that now when this negative voice says, what does it matter? It doesn't, I can do whatever I want. I just have sex now. It doesn't, whatever it is. And that voice says, hey, you're actually a pretty good guy. And maybe you don't want to treat that person that way. Or actually you can tell them, no, that doesn't make them feel good. And that it has to come up in some way.
In those little tweaks, those little pieces of improving language and sharing that with them. Another tool we've adapted from you is workable, not workable. And when my kids say I'm bad or I suck or I stink at this, it's wait, hold on. Is that really correct language or are you not trained?
They hate it initially, but yeah.
So it's funny because the same 12-year-old kid yesterday after football practice, he came up to me and he's like, you know what, Dad, I realized something. I don't suck at football. I was like, yeah, tell me more. He's like, I dropped one pass all of practice. I'm like, you're really training.
I'm trained.
You've been practicing, you're putting in the work, your training is starting to show up and you're looking trained out there. He's like, you think I could be a quarterback if you train to be?
Boom.
That's what you want to be. So it's starting to pay off. And he'll catch himself now. He'll stop himself from saying, oh, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm bad. Whatever. That's not the dialogue he needs or deserves.
It doesn't serve anything. That put down is not a good motivator. So I think this is a great way to lead in and kind of bring this to a close, which has been a fantastic discussion, Jared. Thank you so much. It's been thorough, and I think it's touched on a lot of different trends that we're seeing in 2023 and that are affecting people that we know and people that we want to work with and do rad stuff with. To the parents and the families out there, you've got a family group going on now at I'm Recovery and through Team U that you are working with families around. Maybe you've got a person who's in a recovery thing, or maybe you've got a person who is questioning their gender identity or their body, or maybe you've got somebody who can't escape that negative thing. How do we turn the algorithm now to work for us instead of against us? Tell us a little bit about the family group you've got going for 2023 to be there with the parents out there that are experiencing what we're experiencing.
Ultimately, the world needs a lot more helpers. We need give back and contribute and find ways to connect with each other. And I find that the best way is doing exactly what we're doing right now, having discussions with people with their live questions, what's happening in their life right now. It's not going on some Google spot and looking for information. That anybody can do that anytime. But if you have a real issue right now and you need help, you can jump on a family group. It's totally free. We're doing them on Thursday nights. You can reach out to us. We'll send you a link. We don't want it to be totally open because we do like people who want to be there, and we don't need any Zoom bombers jumping in. But essentially, like every week, we
want people who want to solve problems.
We hit a topic.
Win together, yeah.
But the topic is often you. Like, what's going on for you? And then we feed off of that with each other, and we've grown. And so far, well, we've done this before, but we built this out a few years ago with a couple of our coaches, and they took off, and now they have like 7,000 followers on Facebook, and they have a couple, I want to say like 100, 200 people every week in their group, and it's gotten really big and beautiful. And it's become theirs, and I'm so happy for them. But we're revamping that again as more of a family focused for family issues, those family problems, those family dynamics. And we're relaunching it through Team U and I Am Recovery as a joint thing. But we don't want it to be exclusive. We want it to be open. So if you're someone listening, has something you can gain from this, we want you on there. We want you to be part of it. And we want to train you to become one of the teachers so that you can eventually run your own group. Just like we had with our previous couple coaches, I'm so happy for them. They've got almost 10,000 people who trust them.
That's the abundance that we're about. Exactly.
So if you want to be one of those people, come, learn. We'll develop it. We'll grow it. We'll make another pot of 10,000, another pot of 10,000. Teach one, help one. Teach one, help one. That's the grassroots stuff. That's getting outside of worrying about the politics, worrying about the outside views. It's person to person, developing your intuition, connecting to your higher power, finding how to build those relationships, one family, one person at a time, exponentially growing. So the Gen Z's, bright future. The Alphas, incredibly bright future. It's because of what you do today. It's how you respond, how you grow, that in 100 years from now, we'll have such an exponential growth.
That's right.
That the world today will look archaic. Wow, they really had those problems? We have different problems now. We always will. But it's not going to have to be so dark and miserable.
And we want to call you up and call you in. And what we do know also is, because we felt it, is parents and adults and family and peers, it's hard sometimes to talk and want to get help and support and connect with people when you're confronted or experiencing some of the challenges we've talked about today. And it can feel like more information is the way to get your problem solved. In the information age, more information is not the solution. Mm-hmm. It's part of it, and we're very blessed for it. And it's putting what into practice for you in your life right now that can change your life. Because as you influence the change in your life, you will call forward those around you to make the changes for them in their life, and you will attract it instead of feeling like you've got another job to do. And that is the beautiful thing. Well,
and one last feeling around that is we want to encourage you. We want to persuade you to live a better life. And by persuading you to join the Non-Complainer Club, to join the Good Parenting Club, to join the People Practicing Abundance Club, there's a lot of benefits.
So we didn't come this far to come this far club.
When my 8-year-old, I think he's 9, I feel bad if I got it wrong, but he has a tendency to complain a lot. And I'll talk to him like, well, what you want to join the Non-Complainer Club? There's a lot of benefits. You live longer, you have more friends.
I love that. Yeah.
And I just start laying out all the benefits. Like, I know, Dad. I know. You say it all the time. I'm like, well, I'm waiting for you to take your membership card. I've got one out here for you. It's right. It's available. So that's what we're talking about. We want you to join these kind of clubs. They are good. They're wholesome. They're full of values and virtue. They're full of things that will expand and improve the world around you. Most importantly, your own world will grow.
And we've been doing this for over 5 years, and we just know how to win. And so let's win together. Mr. Casey, what a wonderful connection here with the clinician, the coach Shay on the Winning Together podcast. Talk to you soon, everyone. See you at the family class and go find ways to win.